A young man named Sean witnesses a brutal murder while riding his motorcycle through a remote location in Hawaii. He sees a powerful crime lord named Eddie Kim execute a federal prosecutor by beating him to death with a baseball bat. Sean panics and escapes the scene, knowing full well what he saw and who was responsible. Not long after, Sean is tracked down by Kim's men. They intend to eliminate him before he can talk. But before they can succeed, FBI agent Neville Flynn and his partner intervene. They secure Sean and take him into protective custody. Flynn is assigned to escort him safely to Los Angeles, where he is scheduled to testify against Eddie Kim in federal court. Sean is reluctant. He fears for his life. He understands that Kim has vast resources and can reach him even within the protection of the law. Flynn assures him that no harm will come if he cooperates and follows orders. The FBI decides that a commercial flight, filled with passengers, will be the least expected and therefore safest method of transport. They book Sean and Flynn on South Pacific Airlines Flight 167, a red-eye flight from Honolulu to Los Angeles. The flight crew is not informed of the witness being on board or the true nature of the escort. Everything is kept classified. As the flight prepares to board, the airport seems normal. The FBI uses coded identities. Sean is kept away from public areas to avoid detection. But despite their precautions, Eddie Kim has already anticipated their plan. Unknown to everyone, Kim's men have smuggled hundreds of venomous snakes on board. The snakes are stored in the cargo hold, locked in a time-release crate. Flight 167 departs just after midnight. The aircraft is large and crowded. The passengers are a mixture of tourists, business travelers, and a few celebrities. Among the crew are Captain Sam McKeon, his co-pilot Rick, and head flight attendant Claire. Claire is experienced and composed, used to managing high-stress situations. As the plane climbs to cruising altitude, everything seems normal. Sean remains under the radar. Flynn keeps a low profile, sitting beside him in business class. The flight attendants begin beverage service. The passengers relax, unaware of the impending danger stored just beneath their feet. In the cargo hold, the timer reaches 0. The crate unlocks. The lid lifts. Dozens of snakes, of multiple breeds and sizes, begin to emerge. Some slither into the electrical systems, air ducts, and cabin spaces. Others begin their ascent through access panels and ventilation shafts. The pheromone drives them into a state of heightened aggression. For a while, the crew and passengers notice nothing unusual. The snakes remain hidden in the infrastructure of the aircraft. But as the flight continues, a series of small disturbances begins. A couple in the lavatory is the first to encounter one. While engaging in a romantic act, they are bitten repeatedly. Their deaths go unnoticed at first, mistaken for absence. Moments later, a snake appears in the cockpit, biting Captain McKeon on the neck. However, the venom begins affecting him quickly. In the cabin, passengers begin to scream as snakes emerge from overhead compartments and floor grates. Panic spreads rapidly. The creatures attack indiscriminately, biting legs, arms, and faces. Some passengers are trampled in the chaos. Others attempt to climb onto seats to escape. Flynn and Claire quickly take charge. Flynn retrieves a stun gun from a security locker and begins killing the snakes where possible. Several flight attendants are bitten. One elderly woman dies of cardiac arrest during the panic. The cabin transforms into a scene of chaos. A mother tries to protect her children, one of whom is bitten. A large python emerges in the galley and begins constricting a passenger. Others attempt to fend off the reptiles using bags, belts, and trays. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, Captain McKeon succumbs to the venom. His co-pilot Rick takes over but is shaken. He radios air traffic control, declaring a medical emergency and requesting immediate diversion. However, the flight is far from land. They are over the Pacific Ocean with limited options. Flynn locates a weapon from the air marshal's kit and uses it to protect the injured. He maintains order as best he can. Sean, although frightened, begins helping those around him. Claire organizes the crew and passengers to use luggage to block snake entry points. Below deck, the snakes continue to spread. They disable the aircraft's avionics by attacking electrical systems. The cabin lights flicker. Turbulence increases. Flynn contacts FBI headquarters using the aircraft's satellite phone. He explains the situation. Officials on the ground are initially skeptical but confirm the presence of multiple species of venomous snakes based on Flynn's description. They begin working with herpetologists and flight experts to advise the crew remotely. On board, the situation becomes worse. The child who was bitten begins to show signs of systemic venom spread. A flight attendant administers anti-inflammatory medication from the medical kit. There is no antivenom on board. As the plane crosses deeper into the Pacific, the onboard crisis continues to escalate. The snakes, now spread throughout the aircraft, are creating havoc not only in the main cabin but also in the hidden compartments of the plane. Electrical failures begin to increase. The ventilation system becomes compromised, allowing the reptiles even more access to the passenger areas. Agent Neville Flynn and flight attendant Claire maintain their composure. They lead small teams of survivors to block off sections of the aircraft with luggage, serving carts, and emergency equipment. This temporary strategy helps reduce the spread of snakes, buying time for the wounded to receive attention. The injured include multiple passengers and crew members. Some are in critical condition. With no antivenom available, Claire is forced to rely on basic medical aid and constant monitoring. Flynn tries to keep the mother calm, knowing panic will only worsen the situation. Meanwhile, co-pilot Rick continues to pilot the aircraft alone after Captain McKeon's death. He is shaken but determined to stay airborne. The controls are functioning, but warning indicators begin to light up on the dashboard. Multiple systems are failing due to snake interference in the electronics. In the rear cabin, passengers discover a large constrictor coiled around a young man. The morale of the cabin deteriorates further. Some begin to pray, others break down in shock. Flynn contacts the FBI again using the satellite phone. He provides a situation report, listing casualties, current cabin conditions, and critical system failures. The FBI begins working with a team of experts on the ground, including a herpetologist named Dr. Stephen Price. Price is brought in to help identify the snake species based on photos and descriptions provided by the flight crew. Dr. Price confirms that many of the snakes on board are not native to Hawaii and include highly venomous breeds from multiple continents. He explains that such a coordinated attack would require an extensive smuggling operation. Back on the aircraft, Flynn makes a critical decision. Realizing that their current defensive posture is only temporary, he leads a mission to regain control of the lower levels. With a small team, he descends into the cargo hold. Armed with fire extinguishers and poles, he also notices wiring damage near the avionics boxes. He relays this to Rick in the cockpit, who confirms erratic readings in the instrument cluster. Kills several snakes in the cargo hold but is unable to stop the full infestation. They retreat, closing the hatch and sealing it with rope and tape. It will not hold indefinitely, but it may buy them time. Flynn now addresses the passengers. He reveals that the incident is an assassination attempt against a witness, Sean, who is on board. There is tension in the cabin as some passengers begin to question why they were placed in danger. Flynn takes full responsibility, assuring everyone that their focus now must be survival. Meanwhile, a young man on board, an avid gamer, claims he has hundreds of hours logged on a flight simulator. He volunteers to assist Rick in the cockpit if needed. Though initially dismissed, the idea remains in the back of Rick's mind, especially as additional cockpit alerts begin to signal system degradation. In the cabin, passengers are instructed to fasten seatbelts and prepare for emergency landing. The injured are stabilized as best as possible. Claire secures loose items and checks that oxygen masks and flotation devices are ready. There is still uncertainty about whether the plane will make it to the runway in time, or if it will have to attempt a water landing. Suddenly, the makeshift pilot continues to follow instructions from ground control. He activates the wing flaps, begins slowing descent speed, and adjusts cabin pressure. The aircraft dips, triggering panic among the passengers. Claire reminds them all to stay calm. Flynn takes control of the intercom and informs all passengers that they will be landing shortly. He gives them clear instructions: brace position, Remain seated, and follow flight attendants upon landing. The herpetologist on the ground now warns of one final concern: if any large constrictor species are loose, they may seek out warmer areas of the aircraft as the cabin temperature drops during descent. That means the cockpit is now at risk. Meanwhile, FBI teams and medical personnel position themselves on the runway. Hazmat units prepare for decontamination. A medical tent is assembled nearby. Paramedics await victims with anti-venom, 4 bags, and stretchers. Flynn coordinates with the crew. They make one final sweep of the cabin, checking passengers, clearing debris, and unlocking the emergency exits. Oxygen masks remain in place. The plane is now aligned with the runway.